2 at the Warehouse Underground podcast, Real Talk for warehouse, DC, and FC professionals of all levels around the globe. I'm Ben, the host of the show, a special show, a continuation of our Manager Method series, where we bring on actual real life managers who are out there leading operations in warehouses and DCs across the country to shine a spotlight on them and the good work that they're doing, but also give them a chance to talk about their wins, their losses, their struggles, their triumphs, and their teams and everything in between. And the person that I have on the show today is a great guest to do that with. His name is Dana Harris. He is the general manager of a very large warehouse in the Midwest. He's got more than 15 years experience leading in this industry, Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certified. And if you follow him on LinkedIn like I do, you'll see that he is constantly opening up a window and showing you the good things that he and his team are working on out there, which I really appreciate. I wish more people in the industry would do that, because more people will benefit from all that good stuff and good vibes that happen from that. So I'm really excited about having him on. I will bring him on the stage right now. Dana, welcome to the Warehouse Underground, my friend. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. Just ended a busy week. Volume is heavy, but team is crushing it right now. So doing pretty
Good.
good.
Good. Now I want to say thank you again for coming on the show, because I know it's weird when somebody contacts you out of the blue like I did on LinkedIn and we've never met in person, and like, hey, I want you to come on this podcast and I think you're really great. And sometimes it's just crickets from people, and other times people take the leap and jump on. You took the leap, man, and I appreciate that. I appreciate you for coming on. It's not always a comfortable thing. I get it.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you got it, my friend. So jumping into the show, I gave a little bit of an introduction to you in the beginning, but I just tell the audience just who you are. Like, what's your background? What led you up to what you're doing today, and what are you working on right now?
Yeah. So before we talk about the background, I'm a loving father. Also a husband. Have two beautiful young kids. I got little
Yeah,
Dana Dwayne and Sophia. As far as my background, been doing
nice.
this for 10 years, man. I started off unloading trucks at UPS. Really sank my teeth into operations there. Done a little bit of Penske logistics and some transportation. And just been around the world a bit with various 3PLs. Um, I really enjoy driving engagement with people. I think
Yeah.
when you think about early in your career, you think about numbers, 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 but you don't know how to get to what the numbers are, what the data is, and it's really the people. So that's what I've been doing, and that's a little bit about me.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love that. I love when I get a chance to talk with people that came up through the ranks like that came up from the trenches unloading trucks, because that gives you a completely different perspective about what it's like to work in facility. I mean, trucks are hot. It's hot in there. And you're right. I think, later on in your career, it's more about the numbers and you got to run the business. But as long as you have that as your foundation, I've always found that that makes a big difference with people. So I really respect and appreciate that. And I bet that there's other people out there listening that will respect and appreciate that too, man. So good on you. Now,
Appreciate
let
that.
me ask you, yeah, now let me ask you this question. I mean, the, the, the industry as a whole, right? Like working in warehouses, working in DCs, obviously I have this podcast and I run the website and everything, but for you, in your mind, what do you think are some of the best things or the best components about working in your warehouses that you operate, or kind of working in the industry in general? Like, what's some of the good things that come from that for folks?
I think one of the best components is honestly communication.
Yeah.
Um, the more you can communicate, but not just provide information, but follow up on that information, seek to understand that information, you can look at various processes, right? Like we think about a pick, pack, and ship operation. Yes, you unload it, you label it, you stage it, you stow it, and you get it ready for outbound. But there's so many variances that can happen in between there. What
Yep.
leaving error, there's a put away error. something wasn't staged or dropped for outbound so that they could get the freight out. What I like to really do and what I really appreciate is communication. So seeking to understand on the dock, talking to your receivers or your verifiers or whatever you call your receiving team, talking to those people that are doing the putaways, talking to those frontline leaders, understanding what friction that they might be dealing with, what barriers may have to be removed. I think you can look at a lot of different things. You can look at a lot of WMS's, transportation management systems. You can look at everything that we deal with on a day to day, but it
Yep.
all dials back to what did the communication look like? Were we thorough? Did we provide details? Did we follow up on expectations? Do people know what expectations are? You know, do people know how to pivot? Because systems break.
Yep.
You might have to work outside the system. So as I look at and I thought about this question, I'm like, man, components, what components? It's really communication, honestly.
Yep.
It's one of the most unspoke about tools or components you can have in our industry.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. And I've kind of said this too, where when you look at supply chain as a whole, the whole big supply chain, in a way, inside of a warehouse or a DC, it's almost as if it's a little miniature supply chain
Absolutely.
happening inside that world, but the same sort of things are happening. You're still moving product and everything. And you mentioned communication, and I've told this to people before too. When you think about communication inside of a warehouse, that is the naturalist. I don't really think that's a word. The most natural, pure form of communication that you can have. And you have to have that because you got people from all walks of life who are working in there and things are moving fast. And email is not really going to do it. I mean, you have to be going, having real conversations with people and really getting on the same page. So I think you're right. I think to all the people that end up working in distribution centers out there, they are going to get a level of communication as in a leadership role, right? If you're in a management role, but really in an hourly associate role too, you're going to learn communication skills the hard way, I think, and that's not something that you can learn in a book or watch a presentation on. I mean, you're going to get it a steady diet of it every single day, and that's
Mhm.
what's required work in there.
And if you think about like when I say communication is that one of the best components. If you look at I've dealt with multiple type of leaders, right? You got people like me that come from the ranks and you kind of just build that skill set over time.
Yeah.
But there's also people that can step in from the outside. They may never touch the trailer, but the ones that are successful, what do? They thoroughly communicate. They communicate in a clear, complete, and concise manner, and they always follow up. And that's why I said it like this. It's intangible. It's intangible.
Yep. Yeah, I love that, man. Now, I mentioned this in the intro too, that I follow you on LinkedIn. I know you have a lot of followers on LinkedIn. I know you post a lot about what's going on at your site and the good work that you and the team is doing. So, how has that been received by them? Like the hype that you give them and the highlighting that you do of them, how is that received? I mean, is that something that they are even aware of? I mean, are they even aware that you do that? Or are they do they really say, "Man, this is awesome. This motivates us," or somewhere in between, or does it depend on the employee? I guess.
I think it depends on the employee. I've worked everywhere from South Carolina, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois, California. People are different.
Yeah.
Cultures are different.
Yep.
There you have some employees like, hey man, are you gonna get me on your page? I got some high performers, and I'll show them. I'm like, you guys think that it's me highlighting myself? I'm really highlighting you because how I
Yep.
operate and how I think most leaders operate. Anybody can walk in my building at any time. From a 3PO perspective, it can be our leadership or our customers' leadership. So I want them to kind of know who my team is when they walk into the door. So I'll actually show them, like, hey, did you just see the senior vice president like this picture? And then that'll give them a boost of confidence. And you'll have some people, they're like, hey, am I going to get a picture today? And you got some that's like, yeah, I don't really care. But overall, I think the team members, they're pretty engaged with it. They know what I do, and some enjoy it. Some just like, hey, let me do my thing on my own. Uh, and then just from, I guess from outsiders, it really highlights things that go on in the DC. Because though I post a
Yep.
lot of good things, you'll see when I say, "Hey, we got here, but we dealt with a ton of ambiguity just to get to this
Yep.
point." So I love being transparent. What you see is what you get, and um, that's what that is.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean that's why, and I've said this before, and I hope you agree with me, that being a leader in a DC is challenging because you probably have the most diverse labor force of any kind of industry out there. Because you get folks from all walks of life, man, all demographics, all colors, all creeds, all you name it, right? They're all in there, and you kind of have to lead and work them together. And that is a leadership challenge. Cause just like you said, it can't be a one size fits all. You gotta tailor your leadership style and your engagement style to what is going to hit with the person that you are leading. And I respect that. I respect that about you, that you're willing to do that and put it out there. And I think it reflects well on you and the team. And like I said, I wish more people in this industry would do it because I feel like there's a lot of good stories to be told, and not everybody hears those good stories because it's just a industry that is, hey, we're going to come to work, we're going to work hard, we're going to do our thing. But they miss that point where it's hyping it up. Other industries hype up themselves very, very well, but this one, for whatever reason, doesn't always do that. So I'm happy that you're breaking the mold on that and really pushing forward, man. I respect that.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Now let me ask this question. And there's no right or wrong answer to this, but a lot of, I'll call them non-industry people, people that don't work in fulfillment centers. They've never worked in a distribution center. Maybe they took a tour of one, or maybe they saw one on TV one time or something like that. Sometimes they will have a misconception, right or wrong, of this stereotype that this type of work in a warehouse is like brute physicality, like, oh, that's the big guys and they're working in there and everything. But I think a lot of people in today in 2025 may be surprised at how technical a lot of things are when you're working in this world now with technology and scanner and all these things that we're talking about. Maybe how it was in the 80s where it's just a warehouse with people in there just throwing truck is that's still a component of it today. But again, I think people would be really shocked at how technical it is, and it requires a level of kind of ingenuity and knowledge that maybe wasn't there 20 or 30 years ago. Do you share in that belief about that? I mean, do you think that there might be that misconception that people have?
Yeah, it's totally a misconception, when it talk about warehouse work, distribution work, lumping cases. It has to be the big guy. It to me it's truly about how tactful you are, and there's a bit of finesse to it. I've had
Yeah.
people again of all shapes, all sizes, um, male, female. It's all about your approach. Um, like it's almost like when you're staging pallets, for example. You could go and stage one pallet at a time, but who's going to take that initiative and look? Hey, these are going to the same staging location. I'll grab both. I'll take both of them. Now throughput is increased, and you haven't even really sweat. You're just really thinking.
Yeah.
So there's totally a misconception about it's just bru- brutal work. Don't get me wrong, warehouse work is tough. It's not for
Yep.
everybody. But I think once you're in it, you're in the meat and potatoes, you can think of ways that, hey man, I can be a little tactful. I can finesse this. I can
Yep.
do things a little bit different and get through my day and be productive about it. And those are typically some of the best people you can have in a warehouse.
Yeah, I remember somebody, they didn't say this to me, but I overheard someone saying this one time in a company that I was working for. They say, "Hey, they put box on the shelf, they take box off the shelf, they ship to the customer. What's so difficult about that?" And I thought, man, how insulting. How insulting can you be? Do you know how intricate this is with the ERP and the warehouse management system. And a lot of facilities have labor management systems, and you got all this technical things that are happening in the system. If it was that simple to just do it, I
We'll do it.
wish. You know what I mean? Like, I wish that would cause a lot less stress in my day, but it's like, man, big time distribution centers, it is not that. Maybe if it was 5 orders a day that you're fulfilling, but when you're managing hundreds, thousands of orders and you got inbound at the same time with outbound, and you got returns and you got problems and you got inventory and control and all these things happening at one time. Come on, man. I mean, it's a big juggling act, I think, that happens in this world today. It's not
It-
simple.
it- it's a lot of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Um, but Peter wants his money back, and you got to figure out how to get his money back. It's the analogy I use all the time when I walk the floor. So
Yeah. I got you, man. Now let me ask you this about you personally and kind of what you're doing now. So when you started at your site, because I know you've worked at different places, where you're working at now is not where you always worked before. When you started at your site, was it up to your standards when you went in there, or was it something where you had to really start building it up kind of up to get to that level where you want it to be? And what was that path like for you? Because, and I'm not the only one that's mentioned this, a lot of hires or promotions, or you come to a new site, it has a lot of mud on it when you get there. It's
Mhm.
rare that you get promoted or moved up into something that is running awesome and no issues. So what was it like for you? I mean, was it a big lift for you that you had to build up, or was it pretty easy for you from the start?
um, seeing that I've been at these type of sites multiple times throughout my career, I kind of know what's expected. Um, However, sometimes what's expected is not always communicated. So I would say not up to my standards. And my path is pretty simple. The first, I would say, 30 days is strictly safety, housekeeping, engagement. Safety, housekeeping, engagement. I'm stopping. I'm a disruptive leader. I'll shut down the dock and pick up a piece of wood. It's not to nitpick or to highlight that people just don't want to clean up. It's more so like, hey, if we could skip over this, we can miss a scan. We could put something on the wrong truck. Customer might not get the freight that they want. And it's a lot of teaching during that because I have a strong belief if the DC's not clean, it's definitely not safe. If it's not safe and clean, people are not engaged. And if they're not safe, they're not clean, they're not engaged, we're not productive. So that's pretty much my path. Was it easy? No. There's a lot of tough conversations that come from safety, housekeeping, and engagement.
Yep.
Probably some conversations that never have happened before or happened to the level or extent that I would bring it, or the intensity that I would bring with it. So there's a ton of learning and just teaching people how to be biased for action, because those little things translate into big things. Teaching people how to have that influence, right? Because leaders, you're not doing the work, and if you're doing the work, that's already a problem. You got to be able to influence your team, keep them engaged. So teaching them how to influence, and then just have that executive presence, right? Like
Yep.
the floor doesn't need to move when Dana walks on the dock. GM's here. That's not. I don't even introduce myself as Dana the GM. I'm Dana. I work for you. Sometimes I may not introduce myself at all. I just talk to people, but
That's just
teaching them
talking.
to just start talking to me. Like, you really want to have that executive presence as a leader, whether you're that frontline supervisor, frontline team leader, the ops manager, senior ops manager, AGM. That way you could drive that influence and get people to be biased for action because that's how you bring it all together. So
Yeah.
that's what that was my path.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, you got to set the tone, right?
Yeah.
You got to set the tone, and the thing about DCs, and you know this is, you can't. There's so many people working in there. You can't physically manage them all. You're just one person. So, what is going to, quote unquote, manage that person or influence that person? that you can't see, that can't see you. What's going to do that later when they're out there on their own by themselves, right? When no one else is watching. And I think it's that tone that you set up front. Hey, we're going to be a disciplined operation. We're going to care about these basic things. And I expect you to do these basic things well. And then as you do them, they just become habit, right? And then you can move up more into the more high level stuff. But I really like that. I think that probably is resonating with the team. And you know right away, hey, it seems like most of the people are on board with this, but for whatever reason, there's one or two that aren't getting on board with the message that I'm putting out here up front. This is going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a problem for us. Like, we got to get on board here if you want to work here, because we're going to do the basics good. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask this question. In the world of warehousing and distribution, there are typically common issues or not issues, but there's challenges that sites are facing. And a lot of these are universal around the country. I mean, I'm pretty well networked in. I talk with a lot of people, and some real common ones are space constraints. So we're running out of physical space in our facility to store product, labor or turnover, fluctuations in demand, whether that be inbound demand or outbound demand, spikes or what have you. So what are some of the operational challenges that you see at your site, and how do you and your team go about combating them?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture, man. We deal with volume, we deal with productivity, and a bit of turnover. So all those things combined, you still have to be able to get the volume out the door.
Yeah.
It, those challenges to me, I think there's a bit of communication gap that comes with it, because
Yeah.
you may be receiving some information. Hey, you guys are expected to see 400 unloads, and then all of a sudden, a day before, you guys are planned at 600. So there was a communication gap, whether it was at my level or a few levels above. Um, I think that is definitely a challenge, because now you have to turn and cause or make a call for extra shifts. Extra shifts. Now you
Yeah.
causing extra friction on people. Extra friction on people. Starting to deal with some turnover. And then people talk. Now you're dealing with, as soon as you come in on your first day, hey, we work every Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
You get on a forklift, and then next thing you know, they're out the door because they don't want to work. So I think there's some opportunities with communication, with spikes, and dips, right? Because you have dips as well. But definitely being able to bridge that gap with thorough communication, so that we can plan accurately, is a huge challenge that I've been dealing with.
Yeah. And what I've always said with that is, it's like water skiing. I've never gone water skiing, but I know water skiing. I've seen it. And I imagine that the warehouse or the distribution center is like the person who is holding on to the skis, but behind the boat. The boat's pulling them. And so they've got to respond to whatever inputs the boat makes. So if the boat is driving steady on the lake, it's very enjoyable for the skier at the end. They can do lots of tricks, they can have all this fun time. But if the boat is constantly abruptly turning to the left, unknown, or abruptly turning to the right, or slowing down and then speeding up, it's going to be all the skier can do to just hold on to the end of the boat. They don't have any time to do anything else. And I look at warehousing kind of the same way. If the supply chain, if the buyers, if sales can do their best to drive a steady boat. Now, I know that things are going to come up and everything can happen, but if they can do their best to drive a steady boat, and you can really do some things with your team kind of skiing behind that. They start jockeying around everything. It's like, hold on, hey guys, we just do the best to hold on back here. And that's when you start to see that, hey, we got to work Saturday now. We got to work Saturday again. And eventually people say, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's going on here? And then they leave. right? So the turnover wasn't caused by anything that was under the control really of the leaders in the site. The turnover was really caused by the bigger challenges in the total supply chain. And I always encourage the teams that I work with, help me drive a steady boat. If there's going to be stuff that's going to change, like let us know ahead of time, and so I can smooth it out. But if it's just unannounced all the time, people can do it for a little bit. They can respond and hold on, but man, it starts to take a heavy toll on folks in the end, because you can't let the customer down, right? The thing you change is, hey, I'm doing Saturday or we're doing overtime or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. One thing I say that's kind of counters that I learned that at UPS is plan for the unexpected, because if it can happen, it will. Right. So knowing that those things happen in the industry, and it's been not even just at the site that I'm at now, sites that previously we know something's going to be off. So how do we plan for the unexpected? And that's the challenge. But I think there's creative ways you can do it, right? Like creating A and B teams or A,
Oh
B,
yeah.
C, D teams like I've done in the past, to where, you know what, we know that overtime is an issue for you guys. We're going to go ahead and plan it out to where you're working one overtime a week, but we got coverage every week by creating an A, B, C, and D team. So I think there is ways as operators, as us leaders, that we can plan for the unexpected, because guess what? The volume don't show up, we'll call it off. And it's just the
Yep.
next team in rotation when that next spike happens. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like I gripe about it, but sometimes you just got to figure it out. So
Yeah. I mean, and every warehouse leader will tell you, yes, I'm going to complain about it. I'm going to gripe. But like you said, I also know that this is the nature of the beast. And the only reason why we're here is to ship and receive products to the customer as safely and accurately and timely as we possibly can. That's we are not a business on our own. You know what I mean? Like that's why we're here. But help us out, man. Right? Like if we can drive a smooth boat, let's do it. But like you said, dude, I love those techniques that you're coming up with the A team and the B team and the C team with the staffing. I mean, that sounds like a great countermeasure that you're putting in place there that seems to be working. Is a team like that? I mean, are they on board with
yeah,
that type of thing, or do
I
they
mean
just kind of do it grudgingly?
nobody likes overtime all the time, but that's at least a way to give them a blow so that it's not all the time. I did work at a company previously where it was just heavy, and the only way to get out of it was to create 4 different teams, and we were able to actually keep up with the volume. And I would say that team was extremely appreciative. You like, hey, if I got to work overtime, I know I'm at least working one side, so that way they can plan things out with their family. So it just depends on the group, just depends on the group.
Yeah, and the other thing with this is kind of an aside, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Is that when you have to work a lot of overtime hours like that, let's say you're pulling 50s or you're pulling 60s or whatever, like those labor hours that you're getting out of people at hour 53 is not the same level of production that you would get out of them at hour 7 of their week. I mean, there's a physical drain that's happened. So I think sometimes people just are looking at spreadsheets and they see the numbers and the head count and it should be this, and they forget
Yeah.
that, like human toll, man, you're like I mean, how are you doing at hour 59 of your week? You're going to be at about 70%. That's just human nature. And so do you feel like people sometimes forget about that part of it, the physical toll, the physical ability to perform
Yeah,
so many
I would like
hours?
to say people definitely
Tired.
forget. You definitely forget, because you always in that mode of go, go, go. X amount of hours equal X amount of cases, X amount of pallets, X amount of units. One thing I do, do, but one thing I do is I have a spreadsheet where I have like each shift, each hour, and there's a percentage above, right? Like I know in the beginning of the day there's a startup meeting. We're not getting 100% of that hour. So I might put 80% there. But just having this conversation that when we get to the overtime shifts as I plan out, what we can do. I'm definitely going to look at taking those percentages down. That way it can be more accurate. But that's just one thing that I do to plan. But you just asking that question, I'm like, huh, we already at the X amount of hour in a week. Let's just tailor this down to 75% and let's see how realistic that is. So you just actually gave me an idea.
Yeah. I just made this crap up, man, as I was talking. No, but I think it's true though, and I mean, and you know that because, hey, I started out physically unloading trucks, and I'm not the same guy at hour 55 of unloading truck. I'm going a little bit slower, and you don't forget that if you personally experience that. But you're right, man. Just people just look at spreadsheets and numbers, and we should get this, and yeah, I get it. Like it should. A lot of things should happen, but that's why we have managers. You know what I mean? Like, that's why we have managers of people, of actual people that know, hey, these employees over here, they're not worth a crap now because they're tired. They're done. They're gassed. They just don't have it in them. We should be sending them home. Our safety risk is going up by having these employees in here. These people over here, I know them because I lead them on the floor. They're ready. They're ready. They're game for it. And those things don't happen, my friend, unless you've got good leaders that are out there on the front lines who know all those things. You're not going to know that from a spreadsheet or a metric or a dashboard or anything like that. And to me, that's what makes the difference in a lot of facilities out there. And let me ask you this question, man. So you personally, like you've got more than 15 years in the industry. You have had a lot of different stops. What are you looking for next? Right? Like, what are you looking for next in your career? And what do you see as the future looking like for the teams that you lead and the site that you're at now?
Um, First thing first, I'm looking at making the site I'm at as successful as possible. That would be the team goal. My individual goal, I kind of think a little bit differently. Confidence comes from demonstration, right? Over time,
Yeah.
I've been able to demonstrate consistently. You have some good days, you have some bad days, good months, bad months, good year, bad years. It's up and down. It's steady flow. It's operations. So I command things. So I will be either a director, senior director, some type of VP. I would say within the next 2 years. I command that for myself. I know I put in the work. And that's just my individual goal. And I want to do what I'm doing um a level or two up, just to build that influence and continue to teach people. You can lead through influence. You can teach people and influence people to be biased for action and go after those little things, and we'll get after the numbers. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
what I said earlier about safety, housekeeping, and engagement, it translates into culture, the customer, and cost. And
Yep.
that's what I believe. So, yep, that's
I
that's what I
love that.
that's what I want to do.
I
That's what I
love that. Love that, man. So, good deal. Now, look, I see you got Shador Sanders jersey behind you, but this last question is for you. And I'm not a Browns fan, so I'm just throwing that out there. What's the problem with the Browns? Why can't the Browns get right? Is this finally going to be the year that they turn it around? I'm not optimistic.
put this man in, we'll get it right. First round talent. We got we got a coaching staff, a GM that hasn't done anything consistent. Um, we there's no consistency. It's like no transparency with the fans. I've been a season ticket holder going on 8 years now. I've always traveled back home, no matter where I live. Like I said, I got my jersey ready. I even went and got me some Deion Sanders
Nice.
glasses. So
And
I'm ready for the season, baby.
I'm excited about what the Browns may be able to do this year, but I'm also not going to be surprised if they suck. You know what I mean? So,
And I just upgraded to club seats this year, man. So we better
congrats.
we better do something.
Cool deal. Well, Dana, man, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And I know it was the first time you've ever done a podcast. So
Yeah.
it always makes people a little bit nervous, but thank you for coming on and sharing some of your wisdom and some of the insight and some of the things that's going on up there with your team. And I hope more people follow your lead and do this. The more we are as a community, I think, of professionals that's in this field, the better off we're going to be, man. So thank you again for coming on, and I appreciate it.
All right. I appreciate it. And thank you for the time. Thank you.
Yeah, you got it. All right, guys. Well, that concludes today's show. Thanks again for Dana for coming on to talk about some of that stuff. I really appreciate that. He is a great frontline leader in this industry. You should follow him on LinkedIn. Lots of good stuff coming from him and his team, and I look forward to seeing more posts from him in the future. As the Warehouse Underground goes, like I always say, please sign up for the community if you have not. Lots of cool stuff going on in there, message boards, networking, got some live events that I'm working in the future that I think you guys will like. Check out the Tiger Team, the show with wit, humor, and sarcasm of all things going on outside or out there in the warehousing and distribution world. I think you guys will like that show for some comic relief. So check that out. As this podcast goes, again, that concludes today's episode. I will see you next week for episode number 23. Thanks, guys. God bless.